Queen's Lead podcast. I'm your host, Amy Singleton, and as a child of the 80s, I'd love to say Queens rule, but they don't. Queens lead. Being a queen means you are worthy to be a leader of people. The guests on our show do exactly that. They are leading the way in their businesses, families, and communities. They're taking their rightful place in the spotlight, leading and inspiring the developing queens in all of us. Welcome to the Queen's Lead podcast. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Queen's Lead podcast. Today, we are very honored to be joined by Denise Schroder. She is an author, a real estate agent, a wife, a mom, a volunteer at nonprofits, and many, many more things. Welcome, Denise. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Amy. I'm so excited to be here. I've heard a lot of your interviews that you've done, and you are on point. So I'm going to be on my toes.
That means a lot coming from someone who's appeared on places like HGTV and like kind of some Rachel Ray, big kind of stuff. So thank you.
You're doing great things.
We were very blessed to have you on our little podcast over here. So as you know, we are here just to talk to women entrepreneurs about doing the thing that you have done. So tell us a little bit about like what you were doing before you owned your business and how that all came about.
Well, about 22 years ago, I was working in property management, and I was, leasing apartments, and they called me the floater. So I got moved around to different properties and just raised their occupancy.
Floater. I love that.
That's,
you do anything we ask you to do, right? That's that. Okay.
You kind of go fix, you raise the occupancy. And so I got some sales awards and things like that. And I remember I had a manager come to me and say, we don't want to lose you, but I think the natural progression for you would be to get your real estate license. And
okay,
I can remember really feeling seen. And so, I had a baby and then I had another baby. And then I decided, you know what, I want to get my license. And so I was surrounded really by people that told me, you don't have what it takes. It's too saturated of an industry. You can't do that. Why would we line our garage wall with signs with your superficial face on them with no yard to stake? Like, what would be the point? It would just be an expensive hobby. Wow. And so, yes.
Thanks a lot.
Exactly. So I really needed people around me. My personality was at the time, this relationship that I was in, I really needed and felt like I had to seek permission to do things. So unfortunately, I kind of suppressed the dream. And it was a long time, 2 decades later, until I actually got to take it to fruition. And I had gone through a divorce and a custody battle that cost me over $50,000 of money I didn't have. Yeah. And at the same time that was going on, my mom was 49 and I'm 49. And so this year has been pretty pivotal to me because I've had a lot of anxiety just for some things my mom went through. She got misdiagnosed with a hernia and she actually had colon cancer. And it was a pretty long misdiagnosis, like 7 months. And colon cancer is very aggressive and fast growing.
Yes.
So she went in for surgery once they figured out there was something else wrong, and they got the tumor out and they said it's encapsulated. She doesn't even have to do preventative chemo. It's up to her.
Wow.
Well, the doctor was in a hurry to get to a college football game and he botched the surgery, left perforations all throughout her colon. And 14 days went by and the hospital was charting that my mom was recovering, getting better, and she was just withering away. And finally, this pastor's wife comes in and tells my dad, he said, they're killing her here. You have to get her out of here like today. So we meta-flighted her to Oklahoma City Baptist. And I can remember like sitting in the waiting room and thinking, my mom's fate, is it's going to come through those OR doors. This surgeon is going to tell us if he can fix her.
Yeah.
And he came through the doors finally, hours and hours later, and he just said they mutilated this little girl. She's like 5 feet, 49 years old. And a few months later, she passed after we had to watch her in excruciating pain and suffering. So in that experience, I'm getting ready to be 50. And so I started having anxiety attacks shortly after I turned 49 in January. And I decided I'm going to make this the best year ever, because my mom would never want me to look at her passing as my death sentence. And so that's why I published my book this year. And I decided to focus on things that were positive, that would help leave a legacy and make her proud. And so that's what I've been able to do with everything that we've achieved, is just kind of use the art of storytelling and being vulnerable. And that way you can be a beacon of hope and a lighthouse to others. But in that, you have to be open to not just telling your story, but showing your story. And sometimes that's admitting failures and mistakes, and trials and denials. And I just, I went through 2 years of therapy. And I feel like my counselor, when I came in, I told her, I said, I'm too broken to be fixed, but I show up. Like, that's what I do in my life. I showed up.
That's it.
And she said, you're not too broken to be fixed. We're going to reprogram you. We're going to rewire you. We're going to rebuild you like Ford Tough, right?
That's right. I know that's right.
Yes. And so we kind of did an autopsy on my life, and I got healthy and rediscovered who I was, because I honestly didn't know who I was. I was unrecognizable. I was such a censored version of myself from being in this toxic relationship that I was in. So fast forward, 10 years from when things were really, really difficult, and I'm working in an office in Yukon. I'd moved from Edmond, and in walks my FedEx guy. I always say he walked in like Kramer, he like, open. Yeah.
I love it.
I would hear the truck, and then he would swing the door open, and he had the brightest smile, this big blue eyes, and the sexiest legs you've ever seen, right?
Yeah.
If he was here, I would make him show you, but I kicked him out of the office.
Oh, I love it.
And I saw him every day for about 5 years before we had our first date.
5 years?
Yeah, I even tried to set him up with other people, because I wasn't in the position to date. Emotionally, I wasn't available. I just was trying to set him up because I'm like, this guy is awesome.
Yeah, he's too good to miss.
He's too good to miss. But thankfully, nobody snatched him up, right?
I love that.
We got married, and we blended 5 teenagers, and we quit our jobs on the same day to become self-employed. And people thought we were crazy. We had very, very little support. A lot of our family thought we were neglectful. We had $30,000 in the bank to feed 7 of us.
Yeah.
So we didn't have time to play around. Yeah. It was make or break time, because that money goes very quickly real quick. Yeah. Your monthlies are, at the time were probably $5,000 or $6,000, and I had 30,000 in the bank. You can do the math. It wasn't going to last long. Mm-hmm. So we didn't do real estate to begin with, but once we decided to do real estate, he said, "Why don't we do that together?" And it was like I heard the angels singing. And we didn't have a paycheck for 7 months, which was incredibly difficult, because here I was 39 years old before I entered my calling, and nothing was happening. I'm a farmer's daughter, so I understand you plant seeds, and you plow, and you nurture, and you water, and you spray for pesticides before the harvest comes. And my dad just kept saying, the harvest will come because you're doing everything humanly possible. And so finally we sold 40 houses that last 5 months of the year. And wow, to put in perspective, the average agent sells 4 to 8 a year. So I knew this is where I'm supposed to be. So now, we're top 1% in production in the metro, and we've used the art of storytelling. And the way I learned that storytelling was powerful in the way I would use it in my life was I wrote into Oprah in 1999. And, I was a stay-at-home mom, and she was in my living room every day at 4 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was having some hormonal issues, and I was having doctors that didn't understand I knew my body better than they did. And everyone wanted me to just check the box, take some antidepressant, you have postpartum. Well, I knew I didn't have that because I'd had it with a prior pregnancy, and no one would listen. So I wrote in and I did not expect to ever hear her back from her. It was just an emotional dump. Have you ever done that? Just
Oh yeah.
write
Yeah.
an email, write a text, you're fine.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And I got a response back in an hour, not from Oprah herself, but one
Sure,
of her,
sure.
her producers. And they fly out and they, you are in digital media. So, they build a story. So they come and they film B-roll, which is you doing things that they show in the background and those kind of things. And so then they flew us out and then we were sitting in the front row. And how it works is whenever they're getting ready to, like Oprah will ask a question and then they'll pan to you and you're in the front row. So you're kind of melted in the audience. It's not too intimidating.
Yeah.
And she said, I want Denise up here by me the whole show. And I'm just like trying to not have a deer in the headlights look because I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm carrying this show. Like I came to you because I have a problem.
Yeah.
So
This was back in 99 when this happened?
this was in 99. And I remember sitting down next to her and she was doing sign language under her chair. Someone was switching her mules back. I mean, she had 4 or 5 people that do different tasks for her. And she had somebody that was in charge of her shoes. And she unbuttoned her pants and said, let's get comfortable. And she looked at me and she said, I want you to understand that you're sitting here because you have the gift of oration and you're not afraid to be transparent. So I want you to look at me and just pretend we're having a girl chat in my living room. Can you do that? And, when she asked you if you could do something, you're like enthusiastically, yes, I can do that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, queen. Yes.
So it ended up being one of the highest rated shows in 99. And I went back 6 months later. And that was just an amazing, experience for me to understand that it was a little bit embarrassing, some of the things that I shared during the show of, things that were going on in my life at the time, but it helped so many people. It was so powerful and so rewarding. We just we have to commit to being vulnerable so that we can have
Yes.
relatability and connectivity to help others.
Yes. 100%. That's been my biggest adoption probably over the last couple of years is saying, I'm not hiding who I wanted when I started my business. I wanted people only to see the new, fresh version of Amy, not the bullshit, scary,
Right.
like awful addict version of the past, the depressed lady drinking box wine warm. I couldn't have anybody knew who that was. But once I finally wrapped my head around the fact that my mess is that message and that people have to hear it because there's so few people willing to stand up and share that struggle that everybody else on the planet is dealing with, but no one wants to say it.
Yeah, I think that for me, I allowed my failures to be my biggest teacher, not my gravedigger. And so there was something in that made me realize I always thought, well, I'm unusable, I'm broken, I'm damaged. I couldn't ever be used to help anyone. But really, all the things that you went through, your messes, give you credibility.
Right.
For you, to help others. You've walked through the tunnel before. So
yes,
you can tell people how to get through it. So there's something just really powerful in that and profound. And so that's kind of what I've kind of committed to, making others feel less broken. And also when I went through therapy, I was really afraid that I was going to allow the unhealed parts of me to hurt other people in my life. And I didn't want that. I really needed to grieve and heal through a lot of things so that I could find a positive relationship and I could, be there for my kids in the way I needed to be.
Mm-hmm. And so you were on Oprah's show in 99 and still having that fireside chat with her as the person in your corner, you were still struggling with finding your way even years later. So that says a lot of how much it really takes of our own work and effort in our own brain to validate ourselves. I mean, you got the queen of daytime TV telling you, you can, you will, you are, you're perfect, you're wonderful. And you're like, you still didn't make that decision until
14 years later did I really step in to who I really am. And so, it took a long time. It was a journey for sure, but it was worth it because all the grit, I wouldn't be who I was. I mean, when I was trying to kind of get some money together as a nest egg to get out of the situation I was in, I got so desperate that I saw an ad on TV and I donated my eggs to a fertility reproduction place
Wow.
downtown Oklahoma City. And this was diabolical to me.
Yeah.
I had to give myself hormonal shots 3 times a day. I was swollen, bruised. I was an absolute nightmare hormonally. I couldn't even look at you without, being a puddle on the floor because of my emotions just from all the hormones in my body were just, I was a mess, and it was a
Wow.
secret.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell anyone what was going on for 6 to 8 weeks. And then I did get that $1,500 check, and I was never able to deposit it to be my nest egg, to move forward and make some different decisions for my life. So it hasn't been easy. And, sometimes you have to do really diabolical big things to try to get out of situations you are just to be more healthy. And it isn't easy.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit more about, I'm sure the audience really wants to hear more about your TV experience. So how did you land yourself on the HGTV, Home Hunters, House Hunters, all these other shows after Oprah was obviously a longer time ago?
Well, we did Steve Harvey. And when I married Troy, we were on there. We were featured as blended family experts. So we were on a
Okay.
panel. Yeah, it was so much fun because we had 4 girls of 5, and they were all teenagers. And so he viewed us as experts of circuses and just craziness. And so
Did they
it
reach
got,
out to you, or was it because of the previous relationship you'd had with Oprah, or how did that
well,
connection get made?
sometimes once you are on some of those shows, like I was getting emails,
Mhm.
and a lot of the producers, it's a very small world. And so
Yes, yes.
you'll get emails, and when you were a good guest, or that kind of thing, you have connections that can
Mhm.
really help you. And so I had gotten an email, and so of course we had to get vetted, just like any other guest. And so
Mhm.
we did an intro video, and then we got interviewed several times. And because when they fly you out, I mean, they treat you like royalty. They pick you up in a car, like sometimes it's a limo. It's a really nice car. You have a driver. A lot of times they give you wardrobe allowance. Oprah did.
Nice.
Steve Harvey doesn't give you a wardrobe allowance, but you go into a room that's just got any outfit humanly. I mean, I'm a fashionista. And so, I mean, I go in there, I brought my own clothes, but I'm just throwing them because I'm like, I'm going to wear these high quality designer clothes that Steve Harvey has.
Heck yeah.
So then we got to go on for the dangers of teen technology, because when you have 5 teenagers, you become a private investigator. That's what we do, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You have
Yes.
to.
Yes.
So, in just trying to protect our kids from dangerous apps and different things, and it come to our attention that our kids were using some apps that were just mind-boggling scary. And so I had gotten some kind of email that they were doing some things on teenagers. And so I basically said, this is my idea. This is what I'm doing on the back end. And so we got to go do the show. Well, it took 2 years after we did the show, but we got an app, and Steve helped with this, an app called Omegle. And it was a stranger app where your kid can go on and literally like just chat with strangers. Well, my daughter was on it, who was 13. I'm looking at her text history. She's saying nothing inappropriate, but there's probably 50-year-old men on the other side. So
Hmm.
I said, this is not okay. So it got taken off the Apple Store 2 years after, so probably in 2017. So we've been able to use those platforms, it's not just about us, like, being
Yeah.
in the
Right.
spotlight. It has a purpose and
Hmm.
has a mission. So HGTV didn't want to come here because they thought we were just rednecks and hillbillies, and, we've got one tooth and no vocabulary, that kind of thing. And no,
Yeah.
really. And so
Yeah. We live in teepees, and ride horses.
yes,
That's what they think.
that's
Yeah.
what they think. And so I sent them my buyer that I had. He was a single guy from Boston that was a veteran, had gotten stationed up at Vance Air Force Base in Enid, was moving to Oklahoma City. I said, here's my buyer with his daughter. I'm telling you, you guys need to come up to Oklahoma City. Well, they came. They absolutely loved how much house you can get for the money.
Right.
And yeah. And so we
Yeah.
had a really high rated show. And my 4th episode is airing probably in December. It's almost through editing. They kind of keep us updated. And that's really helped us in creating a local brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I'm holding the record for the realtor that's been on House Hunters the most times.
Nice.
And that it's, a lot of times they want three of you on there. They want the realtor and two buyers because they want the dynamic of three different personalities. It's a lot easier to carry a show. But Troy and I have done the show twice by ourselves. And then the latest episode is myself and one of my best friends who's an interior designer. And she was married for 30 years and just is starting fresh. And she wanted to buy an incredible property she can do events at. And so the whole episode is about women empowerment and how it's never too late. And it's like fresh off the yeah. So it's going to be a really cool episode. And they said they've never really done an episode with this kind of content or storyline. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited for Angel to be able to share her story.
Yeah, it sounds like she needs to be a guest on this podcast too. Yeah. I mean, it's time that we start telling. I mean, I love what you're talking about story with online marketing of any kind, but even our digital marketing now, where that's all we talk about is story. What story are we telling? But being able to tell the real stories, not like, oh, well, he's 30 and she's 25 and they have $1 zillion budget and they want an ocean view, 360 degrees and they're perfect. And here's their Labradoodle, to say, here's a broken woman that was married for 30 years and is starting out on her own again. And she's going to kill it in her life. Still, it's not over for her. That's what really happens in real estate.
That's what connects you with the audience. They don't want to see some two fancy, dressed 50-year-olds walking around acting like their life's perfect. That's right. That's not what captivates you and connects you.
Be real.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And that's been really incredible. I did Food Network's Worst Cook in America. I got nominated for that. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Yeah. I'd never seen the show. I don't watch cooking shows because I don't cook. So I don't watch the Food Network. My sister nominated me. And when I was on the audition in 2020, I was on FaceTime with the casting producer and I was running down my stairs in no slip socks. I had no downstairs. Well, I actually fell and broke my ankle while I was on the casting call. Yeah, it was nuts.
That's great content, they say.
Yeah, I mean, they say break a leg. I literally broke a leg.
Nice.
So I wasn't
able directions.
Yeah, exactly. But I wasn't able to go on that season. So I had to wait another year. The competition involves running. We're running around because everything's a race. Okay. And so I didn't want to go on with a boot because I'm competitive. So that wasn't going to work. So that was a fun experience because that was comedic and but every time I was on my private outtakes, it would say my name and then it would say my occupation. So in every show or everything that I've ever been on, besides Oprah in 99, before I was even doing real estate, I always lead it back to realtor or real estate team. So when Steve Harvey introduces us for Blended Family Experts, he says, this is Troy and Denise. They quit their jobs to become self-employed and they have a real estate team. So I use that clip in an intro in my marketing because who else can say Steve Harvey is introducing you. Yes. So you can use those things to always come back to real estate, even if it's a crazy cooking show. So it's really been great, no matter what the topic is, being able to lead it back to also what we do and how we help serve people.
Yeah. That statement right there stands so firm to me because there's so much talk about work-life balance. Oh, well, there's this balance. And what I've discovered for myself is no, there's not. There's just my life. My life is digital marketing, podcasting, nonprofit, board service. It's my community. It's everything I do all wrapped up into one. And there aren't set segments of that life. So just like you said, whether you're appearing on Steve Harvey or a weird cooking show or whatever, you're still a real estate agent. You're still a wife. You're still a mom. You're still all these things all at the same time.
And I think no matter what we do, I try to teach my kids this. We are missionaries. We have opportunities every day to serve like we're chosen. That's always my motto in my business. We serve like we're chosen. In my industry, there's 10,000 real estate agents. It's insanity. But when I wrote this book, I don't worry about people trying to copy or replicate me. I want to share the things that we've done to help us exponentially grow, because I want to have a giving spirit. I feel like when you give, you get, and you just have to come from a place of abundance and not a scarcity mindset. And that's been really important for us, is to always share things to help other people grow.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, there's 10,000 real estate agents in our market alone, and it's so cutthroat. I talked to several real estate agents that want to hide their secrets and not share their success. And I'm like, there is enough for everyone. Have you seen how many homes are in this city?
Yes.
Like, there really is enough success. And when you share it, like you said, it can't help. It's like the reciprocity. It's like breathing. You can't help it. It just comes back to you when you give more than you take.
It is, for sure.
So tell us a little bit about your, I'm so sorry. I don't know who's trying to call through Zoom. That's very weird. Edit. Please edit that out. I don't know what that was. Sorry. That's so strange. What was I even going to ask? That was awful. So tell us a little bit about your book. You said it released this year in October, October 2022 is when it was released.
Yeah, it just released, and my publisher, who you had on recently, Darlene Shortridge, had passed away tragically. I mean, I was just in communication with her a couple hours before she passed, and so it's been a little bit bittersweet, because she got to know me better than a lot of people do, intimately, with a lot of things. And we were getting ready to work on some other projects together. And so I've been trying to do all the publicity and everything, flying by the seat of my pants. Marketing homes and marketing books are two different animals. And I really was excited to go on that journey with her. But I wrote the book just to share my unique marketing approaches, about what we've done to exponentially grow. And we've used social media, but bottom line is we use storytelling and walking in your own authenticity to create your own lane. And I want people that read the book to, of course, be inspired and encouraged and empowered, to move into action. It's never too late, take the leap of faith. But I want them to feel like they're taking like a creativity juice shot or something.
Nice.
Some people, not everyone is creative. So I do talk a lot about how we've been able to use media, TV opportunities, press releases, human interest stories, creativity in submission for just content. For, people are looking for content in blogs, in publications. And so we've done a lot of that. Just, I will write things and submit things to different publications and be published. And it's been wild, because, and podcast guesting too, it's really big, because you can get your message in front of larger audiences, from your home, especially during COVID. We learned, that was our survival mode. So, and I also talk about the power of volunteer teaching and speaking. So my goal is to speak more. I'm doing women's conferences and summits and speaking locally at different places. And if I sell books, that's great, but I don't have any pressure to sell any amount of copies, because I wrote the book because I was called to. I wrote the book because I felt like I was kind of stirred just to share a message and to leave a legacy ultimately.
Wow, that's incredible. I hate to hear that that relationship with Darlene was cut so short, as she was a fantastic person. It was very hard to take that news, but I know she served people in exactly the same way that you want to lead and serve.
Yes, and she was 56
life is a testimony.
Years old.
Yeah, that's getting pretty close to home at our age.
It is, and her daughter was the age I was when I lost my mom. So you're putting people's lives for a reason. You're transplanting in people's lives for a reason. I truly believe that. So in our business, we've kind of used like things that have created such an empathy in my life to, like, I became a family law mediator. So I'm a certified divorce real estate expert, because the law process is going on as, right along with the real estate transaction, and they move at very different paces.
Yes.
And I don't know if you've ever known anyone that got divorced, but it can be dirty, messy, and we have to be the neutral. And
Yes.
both sides want to think we're on the other person's side. So that's
Yeah.
really important. That's like the cornerstone, is that they feel like we are representing the house.
Mm-hmm.
We're there to protect their money from themselves, because a lot of times their house is a reflection of what's going on in their life. So imagine what that is.
Yeah.
We had a guy that pooped in human feces in the floor vents and then used his app to turn the heat on to like as high as it would go when the wife was at work. And she thought that there was something dead like in the walls and started cutting the sheetrock open. Well, this is a
Oh my
$400,000
gosh.
house. Well, it's wasting the asset is what it's called.
What?
You're tearing up the
Yeah.
house, or you're blocking showings, or I mean, we've seen so many crazy things. We had a lady that she cut open every electrical socket. She pulled down ceiling fans because she thought there were cameras spying on her. And so we go over to
Oh,
try to sell this house, and I mean, how do you even explain that?
yeah.
And it
Wow.
takes money to put that house back together to sell it, which most of the time they don't have,
Yeah.
because all their
Yeah.
money is going towards attorneys.
Attorneys. Right. Oh my gosh.
So we've been able to, minister in that way. Because I've been through it. I've been through the absolute worst of the worst. And so it's probably twice, three times as much work, because you're communicating with attorneys separately and the client separately, but it's a lot more rewarding than just putting a sold sign when you know that you helped somebody through the
Yeah.
darkest period of their life.
Yeah. And it was equitable, as much as it can be
Yes, and you
from
keep
your
things fair,
perspective.
and because everybody has to split that one little nest egg to go live separately in two different households, and it's important that their money is protected.
Wow. Yeah. That's definitely a service that's more needed, to have that extra expertise when a lot of the houses being sold and bought are because of divorce. So
Right. And a lot of realtors, there's a lot of new realtors now because of COVID. When everyone lost their jobs, everyone wanted to become a realtor. And that's
yes.
great. I don't want to ever deny anyone of a dream, but there's so many of them running around that don't know how to interpret the contract, much less execute it. And then they're going to get thrown in the ring with divorce when they don't even understand the legal process. And it just hurts people. I always
Yeah.
say, don't hire me because I'm your friend or relative. Hire people because of their expertise and their track record, and that you're a good fit,
Yes.
and that kind of thing. So, because everybody knows someone obviously that's a realtor.
Yeah, for sure. So talk to us a little bit about your FedEx guy.
Oh, that's a
What
loaded
it's been
question.
like, but what it's been like to partner, because I'm also partners with my husband in business, and I get a lot of like, really, but
I do
I
too.
think, yeah, we're best friends. I mean, there is absolutely nothing. I think maybe because we were both married before and we've got it
Yes.
right here in middle age. I'm not sure. But tell us a little bit about working with your husband.
We really are, I guess, the perfect mix, because he has strengths, and our strengths and weaknesses work together, because I don't necessarily love data, love numbers. He loves that stuff. And then I love the creativity, free flowing part of, doing the storytelling and the marketing and being kind of the rainmaker, if you will. And
Yeah.
so we have good balance in what we naturally are good at. And so we haven't had to like fight over, well, I want to do that, because we both gravitate towards different sides of the spectrum. So it's really worked out pretty well. And he reins me in, and I slave drive him. Sometimes we need a little bit of both, right?
I love that you say that. I say that about my husband all the time. He reins me in. He
Yes,
always
because
knows
I'm
when he
kind of a
can temper
spaz all
me.
over the place sometimes. And he's like, listen,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
He told me last night, I know Darlene isn't here to help you, but you have got to get some margin. Like, you have got to slow down. And when you love what you do, it's hard.
It is. It's so hard.
But he paces me and lets me know, okay, you're outer limits right now. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
that's helpful too. And we're not always together because we're dividing and conquering. We have a lot of clients. So we're not together 24/7, but we're together and communicating, constantly. and it works for us. And people do, they're like, I couldn't work one day with my husband. I would, go insane, but that's not the case. We've been doing it. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary of working together.
Wow.
That's a big
10
deal.
years. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years
How
of
long for
marriage is
you?
great. My husband and I have been married. It'll be 6 years in December, and we've been working
Wow.
together for about three and a half.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
a
that's
little
good.
sooner in our journey, but it's definitely a
Yeah,
good fit. I
you're
can't
doing well,
imagine
though.
not working with him. It just, we bring a different perspective for sure and experience level.
Well, and
So
I feel like that with Troy, I do involve him in some of our marketing stuff where he is perfectly content being behind the scenes. And so I've had to coax him, beg him, prod him, teach him to also like being in front of the camera, because he had to be in front of the camera on Steve Harvey and HGTV. Like, it was like, well, I'm going on this ride and you obviously have to go along with me because we're a package deal. So you got to get with the program.
That's right.
And at first he was like, oh my God, I don't like this. But now, our last episode we did, he was cutting up, and they were like, every time he does an episode, he just grows, but he'll complain about it, but he secretly likes it.
Yeah. He secretly likes it. What would you say to that person? I talk to so many business owners that are like, no, I want to keep my business separate from my personal life. I hear that constantly. I don't post anything on my socials from my personal page. That's just for me. What is your take on that?
For us, I mean, our business comes from doing life with people. And so people are like, well, I don't add my clients to my personal page because then I don't want to censor myself if I have a red Solo cup or if I do something that offends someone politically or whatever. We add everyone to our personal page because that's where we do life. And our business is referral based. It's relational. So my business page, honestly, is not where my business comes from. It's not.
That's right.
I also don't
listen to her.
And not that you shouldn't post on there, but that's not personally where I'm connecting, relating with my sphere of influence.
Right.
But I also have, we have a recipe, a mix that, sometimes you'll see someone in their own industry and that's all they post about. I'm very careful. Sometimes I can remind people what I do because I do a lot of interior design. Do you like this? Do you like that? Here's the trend. I take people along when we gut houses, we remodel things, we are fixer uppers, we have, Airbnbs, that kind of thing. And so I take people on the journey where you can remind them what you do without saying something like the interest rate is this, or I sold this. Like, I'll do a back handspring in front of a house that we sold versus just saying sold it.
Right.
Like anchor and stop the scroll versus they just get desensitized to those things. So it's more personal, but reminding people what you do is just as effective. It has been for us.
Yes, 100%. I love that you said that. Thank you for reminding the audience of that, because I say it all the time. You are your business and you can't appeal to 100% of the population. No. Do you know how many people live in your town or that you have the opportunity to do business with? If 0.1% of them like you, that's great. That's probably more business than you can handle. So just go ahead and have your red Solo cup or whatever it is that you're all about and be genuine.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I mean, and we've gotten so many referrals from Facebook. I think people want to do business with people that they like and they relate to. And that, we're going to go maybe on a stressful journey, especially during COVID when there was 1,900 homes on the market. And it's like, it's so cutthroat just to get buyers a house. Well, let's at least have fun while we're doing it.
Right?
We're going to have, it's like we do a documentary when we're going on a house hunt. We're taking pictures, we're catching any moment that we can so that we can save those memories and give those to them. And all, we can repurpose that for content. But we take them on a journey and tell a story while we're doing it.
Mm-hmm. And it's your client's story. That's the other thing I think most people are missing is they're telling their own story, which our stories are important. But as it relates to our clients, we have to invite them into a story where they win, where they're the hero, where their life is better because they chose Denise as their realtor.
Right. There's a company called Pike's Fish Market in Seattle. Have you ever heard of it?
Pike's Fish Market. I haven't.
So they throw fish, like you walk by and
Oh,
they
yes,
throw
I
you
have.
fish.
Yes, I
Yes.
have then. I know exactly. I didn't know the
Yeah.
name, but I knew the brand.
It's awesome because I got told about this company like in a class that I took, and that was 10 years ago, and I'm still talking about it. Well, when you go on their site, it's not about them. It's not about how good their fish is. It's about their clients' stories. And that is
Yes.
what people miss. And you have
Mhm.
to earn the right to tell your clients' stories, because I
Mhm.
ask my clients to get vulnerable, but I have really good social skills where I understand when I have earned that right. Like
Yeah.
we have people say, we're selling our parents' house. We've had this house 56 years. I got engaged in the driveway. Both the
Mm.
parents died and we're turning over the key. They'll tell these stories. And those are just my favorite, is hearing every house, every client represents a story, because we all have one.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite part, really, is finding the story.
Yes, I love that. Well, we almost used up all our time, but I don't want to get out of here before I mentioned the nonprofit that you care so much about, Palomar, here in Oklahoma
Mhm.
City. Tell us a little bit about your work and your experience with them.
I love Palomar, and I've been donating to them for years. And then my daughter had been the victim of a sexual assault that we actually knew the perpetrator. He was a neighbor, and
Oh.
he's never been arrested. And I was out of state, and so she didn't call me. She called the rape hotline, and a sexual abuse advocate was sent to St. Anthony and stayed with her, I think, for 5 or 6 hours while she completed the process of her rape kits and different things.
Mhm.
And she told me later that they were from Palomar. And recently they've offered her counseling. They've offered her many things. And so I knew from everything I had learned about them and my dealings with them that they were amazing. But to hear that later on they touched my family directly, just
Yeah,
warmed my heart, because
that's
they're
huge.
doing such amazing things for domestic and sexual abuse victims. They focus on identifying trauma and just surviving, and then where you can turn into a thriver. And they have so many resources, and it's just a really special organization. So if you are ever looking to refer someone that is a victim, or you want to put your dollars somewhere where you know that they're going to make a difference, I would highly recommend them.
Nice. That's amazing. It's always nice when you are a beneficiary of something you've been pouring into for so long and
Yes.
can really see the full
And had
reach.
no idea that I would ever be a beneficiary.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if that's not some karma, I don't know what is. You do the right thing and
Yeah,
the right thing comes right
exactly.
back to you. That back to your initial point of this conversation. So thank you so much, Denise, for being my guest today. I feel like
Thank
we could go
you.
on for 3 more hours talking about your experience and your book and your real estate and your TV and all your media appearances and just what you're doing in this community. It's very clear to me that you are the epitome of a queen leader. And I just can't tell you how
Oh,
much I
thank
appreciate
you.
you. I'm so proud to have you as a part of my community and right here in my state, where this people that are just doing really big things. We hear a lot about all the negative and all the bad and all the terrible things that are going on, but every time I get to have another conversation with a woman like you, I'm just more inspired to do more. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Tell the audience where they can find you. What's the best place to keep in touch and follow you on socials or do business with you as a real estate agent?
I'm so easy to find.
I
You
love
can
it.
Google me
Yeah,
and find
pretty
out so
much
much.
Google her. She's everywhere.
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm Denise, Denise, Denise Sells Oklahoma. And then Facebook, I'm the creepy girl that has a joint Facebook with my husband because we work together. So it's Denise, and then the letter N, Troy Schroder, Schroder. And you can Google us. My book is on Amazon. It's called Out of the Box. And I just hope to inspire and empower people to live a bigger life and to share their story and to take the leap of faith. I'm so thankful that I did, even though it was kind of 20 years delayed. It was right on time.
It's always right on time. And I
Yeah.
love the title of your book, Out of the Box. My response to everyone who said I could never sell real estate.
Yes.
I mean, like, yeah,
And it's
and the
applicable to any small
picture.
business owner, anyone that has a social media presence. It's applicable to everyone, really.
Yeah. And your website is deniseandtroy.com.
Yes.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah,
So
it's easy.
you guys get out there, find Denise, follow her on the socials. And if you're needing to buy or sell real estate in Oklahoma, give her a call, because it sounds like there's not anyone that'll go to work harder for you than her and her husband.
Thank you. We'd love to help.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And
Thanks,
just keep
Amy.
on being a queen that leads.
Thank you.